Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our pre-trip webinar for our upcoming Liveaway program to the beautiful island of Cyprus. We're going to get started in about 1 minute's time, so just bear with us while we wait for our other members to join us. I see a few people have joined in already, so thank you for tuning in today and finding a little bit more about this exciting trip to Cyprus that is, less than a month away. You must be excited, particularly if you haven't managed to get away from Canada this year. So I will be joined by your host, Deb G, who is, I was just speaking to a moment ago, so she's going to log in here in a second. And then once she comes on, then we will get started and tell you all there is to know about Cyprus so that you can be ready for this amazing trip. I love this island. It's such a cool place. And so I'm excited to share this all with you. So as I say, we will get started in a moment as soon as Deb gets here. Welcome to all of those who have joined this morning. I see some familiar faces. Hi, Karen. Hi, Marg. Members who attended our trip to Malta last year. Good to see your names anyway, even though I can't see your faces. I see a few. I see Sita and Romy. They haven't joined quite yet. They're going to be joining the trip. Richard, who I was just traveling with in Tahiti not that long ago. So you've got a great group of people. And those of you who I have not yet met, welcome and know that you are in good company with those members who I have traveled with before. So as I say, we are just waiting for Deb to join us, and then we will get started and let you know all about this trip to Cyprus starting in a month. And I'm just going to reset my phone here and be all ready to go. There she is. There's Deb. Great. Okay. Good morning again, Deb. All right. So thanks again for joining us. We are going to get started. Today is our webinar is our pre-trip information webinar about your upcoming Liveaway to Cyprus that's taking place in just under a month. And so I'm delighted to get started and tell you all about it. First of all, by introducing your wonderful and charming host, Deb G, who is going to be anxiously awaiting your arrival in Larnaca in a few weeks' time. Good morning, Deb. Why don't you say a few words to our members, a little hello and a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gordon. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. I'm based here in Toronto, so it'll be really nice to get out of this so-called winter weather that we've been having here. It's kind of this fake news winter. I am an event planner by trade, so hopefully I can utilize those skills along with my love of travel and adventure. But I think I'm a pretty great problem solver and very resourceful. So we'll be in this together, and I'll be here to help every step of the way and guide you and make sure that everybody's having a wonderful time. So I'm very excited to meet each and every one of you.
You're going to have a marvelous time with Deb. And just to remind everybody, what is the role of the host? If you've attended a Wheel and Anchor trip before, you'll have a pretty good idea of what our host is there for. We are a community, as you know, and so our host is, partly there to sort of make sure that everybody's gelling with each other and having a good time. And so there is the social element is important to us because we really want you to make sure that you maximize your time. You get a chance to connect with your other members on the trip. We've had some great friendships emerge out of Wheel and Anchor, and really, it's up to you to sort of put yourself out there, even if you're somebody that is used to traveling on your own, or you're independent travelers in general. And so, as I say, I just want to run over what Deb's role is, which is first and foremost to make sure the experience is seamless. Any problems that might come up she'll try to take care of so that you don't even know there was a problem to begin with. It's travel. Things happen, things go wrong, luggage gets lost, things are late. I mean, that's just a reality. And so Deb will try to fix all those problems. Also, she's going to keep her ear to the ground, together with our local guides in Cyprus, to find out of any local events, things that are going on, anything that you might want to sort of partake in while you're there, and to really just inspire you to make the most out of your time in Cyprus. The nature of a liveaway, as you know, is there's a lot of free time, and there's lots to see and do and experience. And it may be just like sitting in a local cafe in a restaurant and sort of people watching or striking up a conversations. The Cypriots are very, very friendly people. It's almost weird, I got to tell you. The first time I went to Cyprus some years ago, and it was just like, the gas station attendant, welcome to our country and thank you for coming and have a wonderful day. And it was almost like, wow, this is weird. But it's a pleasant weird. So again, it'll be up to you to make the most of that. Just to inform you as well, what our host is not. Our host is not the local guide. So we have some great local guides that will be with you on both segments of the trip. In the eastern part of Cyprus, out of Larnaca, we have a wonderful guide as well in North Cyprus, who is separate, because there's obviously a separate entry. I'll tell you about that in a second, and some great guides as well in the western part. They're the ones that have the local knowledge. Deb does not. I mean, she obviously has some knowledge about the trip and the itinerary and all the contacts and all the rest of it. But if you want to know how old the church is, you got to ask the local guide that question. Also, Deb's not there to be your personal concierge, so she's not there to sort of facilitate your arrangements beyond the ones that we've made. She'll try to give you advice and point you in the right direction. And she's also not a travel agent. So if you have any issues with your travel arrangements prior to, during the trip, any concerns, please do drop a note back to the trip specialists that helped you book the trip, Paula or Barb. They're the ones that, or Aura for that matter, they're the ones that deal with all of the travel logistics. And finally, Deb, if you have an issue, a concern, something isn't the way it should be with the hotel or the apartment that you're staying in or whatever it is, certainly raise it to Deb. But she's not there to be the complaint desk. If there is something that you're concerned about that you can't get resolved locally, then again, drop us an email. We will take care of it as quickly as we can. So that's a little bit about Deb and the role of the host. And let's move on from there. Okay. So today's agenda, I've introduced Deb already. We're going to talk a little bit about what you need to prepare for this trip going to Larnaca, and I'll touch on some of the highlights of the itinerary, some of the things that you're going to see and do during your liveaway, and then there'll be a chance for questions and answers at the end. So first of all, getting ready for your trip. Before you go, obviously, if you've not been traveling recently, make sure you know where that passport is and don't move it. I know I've heard that story before where people keep their passports always in this particular drawer, and then it's like, oh, I'm getting ready for the trip, so I'm going to put it somewhere else, and then you can't find it, and then there's a panic. All you need for this trip is a passport. Obviously, there's no visa required for Cyprus, being that it's part of the EU. We thankfully don't have any COVID requirements in place. There's no vaccination requirements. So as long as you show up to the airport with your passport and a copy of your e-ticket, even on your phone, then you will be good to go. I do suggest keeping a copy of your passport and any other important documents, like, for example, prescriptions for medication or your insurance policy. Take a picture on your phone, because it's always good to have that information in a separate place, just in case. So if you get all that stuff sorted out and organized before you go, then Murphy's Law will say that nothing will happen. But as I say, it's best to make sure that that all that stuff is in place. Let's talk about what to pack. Deb, tell us a little bit about what to expect about the weather and how people should get ready for this trip, what they should put in their suitcase.
Well, I'll be leading yoga every day, so lots of yoga clothes. No, I joke, I tease. Well, we're definitely in the spring season, so expect there to be, moderate climate. There's plenty of sunshine, but the temperatures do range between the mid 10s to the low 20s. So you'll want to bring lots of layers, cooler clothing, during the daytime, but you might need an extra layer after dark. It could get a bit more chilly. The dress code is casual. We don't have to bring anything too fancy, ball gowns, nothing like that. Lots of comfortable clothes. Of course, footwear, really important that it's well suited for walking. Hiking shoes, good sports shoes. Um, you want to make sure that if you do typically walk with walking poles, that's something that you can of course bring and integrate. Not required, but just ensuring that you've got good shoes because we will be climbing over, at some points maybe a bit of rugged terrain, but nothing crazy. We're not climbing Everest here. We are, of course, visiting some religious sites. So we do ask that both men and women should wear long pants, skirts, and long sleeve shirt or top. Especially for women, and in particular when we're going in North Cyprus, women should pack a shawl or a long scarf so that you have something to wrap over yourself. A day pack or a waterproof pouch is highly recommended. So you have, everything with you. Of course, a waterproof or windproof jacket, just in case we do see some rain. Sun protection is super recommended. A hat, sunglasses, sunscreen. And don't be fooled by this cooler temperature. There's lots and lots of sun in Cyprus. So we'll need to be really wise with our sunscreen and sun care.
Exactly. I got fried myself on the beach because it's, the weather, as you just mentioned, Deb, can be on the cool side, but the sun is quite strong. Cyprus is one of the sunniest places in the Mediterranean. So, all that stuff being said, pack light. We have members that join us on our Liveaways that come literally with a carry-on, because there's obviously the ability to do laundry there. So you don't need to bring, like 14 pairs of underwear and all the rest of that stuff. If you have enough stuff for a few days, it's a casual trip. So nobody cares if they've seen you in the same outfit more than once. Like really, it's traveler's wear is light, effective, as you said, layers, and you'll be good to go. The footwear is an important note. So remind us of a couple of the other things we need to remember. And we got a picture on the screen, our usual picture of the travel adapters, and that's always an important one.
So with travel adapters, you'll see here the center one is the key. So Cyprus shares the same style of adapter as the UK.
This one.
So that's an important one to note. And then if you do have any special equipment that you're, maybe it's a CPAP machine or something that you want to plug in, we do recommend, maybe carry an extension cord just so you have it right next to the bed. We're never sure of the exact configuration in the locations that we're staying in. So just a good idea to think ahead of just all the tools that you like to have around you when it comes to electronics, but really focus on that center one there. That's the key to the type of adapter that you'll need to have on this island.
Exactly. Bring your mobile phone, for sure. And we'll tell you about Telegram in a second. Again, those of you who've been on our trips before know that we use technology, we use our phones to be able to communicate. We're going to be giving you a SIM card in Cyprus. So you're going to have local data while you're there. But keep in mind that once you take out your Canadian SIM card, so your Rogers or your Bell or your Telus, whatever SIM card you have, and we put in this one from Cyprus, you won't be able to send or receive text messages using your Canadian number. So email works the same, WhatsApp works the same, obviously Telegram, every single data function of your phone will work exactly the same, but your SMS, so if somebody sends you a text message to your phone number, that will not work. So if there's people in your life that you are normally texting, then I suggest that you maybe suggest that you switch to like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or something like that, because yeah, that won't work when you switch SIM cards. I
And
suggest.
Gordon,
Oh yeah, go ahead, Deb.
I was just going to say one quick thing because I often struggle with this when I first was getting used to like dealing with SIM cards. Although there's lots of information in the Wheel and Anchor documentation, YouTube is the best place to go
Yes.
ahead of time to watch on anything. If you just put it right into the YouTube, what exactly you need to do with your exact model of phone, it is incredible the information that you'll find on there that shows you. I'm a visual learner, so I find it
Yeah.
really outlines exactly how to go about that because it can be a bit overwhelming trying to figure out all the SIM card shenanigans.
100%. That's brilliant advice, and that applies as well to the what we're going to talk about next. Just a couple other things on what to pack. I mentioned it at the outset. I want to reiterate it. If you have prescription medications, please bring them in your carry-on luggage. Carry a copy of the prescription with you as well, or put it on your phone, because, you know, God forbid if that should get lost, if you need to top up on a prescription or replace it, if you don't have it, I've been through that before. It's not exactly fun. And if you have a small collapsible umbrella, it doesn't, at this time of the year, it doesn't typically rain a lot in Cyprus, but you know, as I always say, if I bring my umbrella, then it never rains. So that way, you know, you'll be good. Yeah, otherwise, my secret travel thing that I always take with me is I take lots of Ziploc bags, because they're so handy for, you know, putting, whether it's loose change or whether it's, you know, different like toiletries or something like that, or just to put your wallet in or your phone if it is gonna rain, or if you're out on a boat trip or something like that and you want to keep it from getting wet. I find Ziploc bags are like they're my little travel thing that I like to take with me. Let's talk about currency now, specifically the Wise card, and what you need in Cyprus. So Cyprus is obviously part of the EU. It's on the euro. Euros are the local currency. Credit cards, debit cards are accepted everywhere. And when I say everywhere, obviously, if it's some little street vendor, you know, type thing, like a market of some sort, or if you're going to just buy a coffee, it's obviously more convenient to pay with actual currency, with euros. But even, honestly, even in a coffee shop, you can often just tap your card, so you can use your Visa, MasterCard, your debit card from at home. However, for intrepid travelers, for people who travel a lot, and you know, they'll know, I really recommend the Wise card. Why? The exchange rates you get with the Wise card are better than any bank in Canada. At least that's been my experience. I've never found as good exchange rates. It acts like a prepaid credit card, so you can charge it up with money. You just send some money in using Interac e-transfer from your bank. Then you can switch it from, you can either leave it in Canadian dollars or switch it to like 50 different currencies. You can take the physical card and use it as an ATM card. You get like 350 bucks Canadian worth of local currency that you can withdraw at no charge. So the Wise card is super, super handy. If you do decide to get the Wise card, and you can apply for it, the link is in the pre-trip information document. You can apply for it. You can literally open an account basically immediately and get a digital card that goes onto your phone. So for example, I have my phone here and I have my Wise card like right on the phone, and I can tap the phone. So I don't even take the card with me. So it's very, very handy. If you do set it up, to Deb's point about YouTube, there's some functionality on the Wise card in terms of the app that you want to make sure you get going before you leave the country, because some transactions require like an authentication code, which could be sent by SMS to your phone number at home. And if you don't have that sort of changed and configured the right way, then of course you've taken your Canadian SIM card out, so we won't be able to send you an SMS. So just set it up, test it, play with it. If you're going to use Wise, and otherwise, of course, you're welcome to use your regular credit cards from home. I wouldn't bother trying to get euros in Canada. The exchange rate offices in the airport are terrible in terms of the exchange, the actual rate that they charge. And banks don't tend to stock them. Literally, when you show up at Larnaca Airport, or after you arrive at the apartments, there's ATMs everywhere. You can just go to a local bank machine and pull out whatever cash that you need while you're there. So that's it about money. Let's talk about Telegram for a second. So Telegram, I say, this is the reason to bring the phone. Telegram is the application that we use for communicating with our members while on tour. It is very simple to use. If you've already used an app like WhatsApp or Messenger, you'll find Telegram is just as easy. We use it because it is a little bit different than the other apps that are more ubiquitous. So that way, if at the end of the trip, if you don't want to talk to anybody more, you want to keep your privacy, you just delete the app and everything's gone. Please download it on your phone, set it up, send Deb a message before you leave Canada for the same reason, in case it asks for a login code or an authentication code or something like that. It's better to have it all up and running. And then once you are traveling, then you'll be able to use it to contact Deb if there's any problem. And for example, in the event of a delay while en route, if you have any kind of a problem, you can shoot a message over to Deb, and she can make sure to know what's going on and be able to make any changes to your arrangements as necessary. So yeah, that's Telegram. Again, it's all explained in your pre-trip information document as well. Let's say a couple of things about health protocols. So the main thing is only two things I really want to talk about. First of all, our trips are non-smoking, which doesn't mean that you can't smoke at all. But obviously, if you're a smoker, we just ask that you not smoke around other Wheel and Anchor members. The vast majority of our members are not smokers. So yeah, it's just out of courtesy to your other members, we ask that you not smoke during any organized Wheel and Anchor activities or around the other members. That being said, in Cyprus, people do smoke, and a lot of them smoke actually. So it's a good time. I also like to remind people that we're not in Canada. In Canada, it seems like hardly anybody smokes anymore, but in Europe, and particularly in Cyprus, they do. So if you're sitting down at a restaurant and somebody, and you're outside, inside, it's pretty good. They pretty much don't smoke inside anymore. But if you're sitting at a restaurant outside and then somebody lights up a cigarette next to you, don't be surprised. And you just have to kind of go, oh, right. Yes, the rest of the world is not as advanced as far as getting rid of smoking. The only other thing I want to say about health protocols is if you take ill while you're there, if you develop sneeze, like a cough or sneezes or any kind of symptoms, please let Deb know. And please, please, please wear a mask. We ask that for the interest of all of our members. We all know what it's like if you're, riding a bus or the subway or something like that, and somebody's hacking up along next to you. It's just not a pleasant experience in this day and age when we still have COVID variants lingering around in the atmosphere. We don't really want to spread anything, whether it's COVID or not. Please wear a mask out of courtesy to your other members and to sort of people in general. So that's our main thing to mention there. So let's zip on to the next part, getting to Cyprus. So when you head off to the airport, you're ready to go. I keep an eye on your notifications on your phone in the 24 hours before you leave. Airlines are pretty proactive at letting you know if they're anticipating a delay to the flight. So it's just a good idea to stay on top of that. Get to the airport early. I always say better to be early and have a good book to read or a movie on your phone or your iPad or something like that. We recommend, for those of you who particularly suffer from jet lag, we all do, timeshifter.com is an app that helps you overcome the effects of jet lag. I know that I've used it. Our host, Amber, that some of you may know, swears by it. She's been traveling back and forth to Asia and, a couple times. And it's a good way to help combat the effects of jet lag. It just adjusts your time schedule in the days approaching the trip. If you are delayed, this is important. If you are delayed, it's very important that you send a note via Telegram to Deb. Now, what do I mean by delayed? If you are, for example, flying from Toronto to Frankfurt and connecting from Frankfurt to Larnaca, and if your flight to Frankfurt is late and you miss the connecting flight, that's when you need to let us know. If you're on the flight that you're scheduled to be on, arriving to Cyprus, to Larnaca or to Paphos, I think everybody's flying to Larnaca on this one anyway. If you're on the flight and that flight is delayed, you don't need to let us know because we'll know that the flight is late. But if you're not going to be on the flight that you're supposed to be on, then obviously we will have no way of knowing because airlines will not share that information with us. So that's when you need to please send a note to Deb as soon as possible via Telegram, and then she can make sure that our driver that's going to meet you at the airport knows that you're not there. You'll arrive into Cyprus, into Larnaca International Airport, which is a very short drive from the hotel, and you'll go through the usual customs formalities. When you get out after you've collected your luggage and you get out into the arrival hall, look around for your driver. Typically, they'll be there, obviously, with a Wheel and Anchor sign or a sign with your name on it. They're supposed to have both, but sometimes the drivers aren't always following the instructions. So if you see wheel and anchor or the logo and or your name is what you're looking for. If you don't see them immediately, look around. Sometimes, depending on if there's a lot of flights arriving, there could be a lot of drivers looking to pick up people there. So just be patient, look around. And again, if you have a problem, you can log onto the internet there and drop a note to Deb, and she'll make sure to sort you out. But we don't generally have problems, but you never know, things can happen. So I'm going to say a few words about the program overall and what to expect. I'll talk about some of the excursions that you may have chosen for yourself. Cyprus, of course, is an island nation here in the very eastern part of the Mediterranean, so just south of Turkey and just to the west of Lebanon and Syria. It's a very cool island. It is a divided island, and you've probably already done your homework and know that Cyprus is divided into the Republic of Cyprus, which is the southern part of Cyprus here, and the so-called Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which is this part of Cyprus here. It is not a recognized country by most of the countries in the UN. As you know, there was a conflict there back in the 60s and 70s that resulted in the island being divided. And so, well, I'm not going to go into the history about all of that and the current affairs. It's very safe. The relationship is stable, so there's no problems at the moment as between the two, but they are quite different. And this is what I love about this trip, is because for such a small island, there's a lot of interesting current affairs, and you see about how a country of people were literally split in two, kind of from one day to the next. And so it's fascinating. So the first week we're going to be here in Larnaca, in the eastern part of the country, and it's from here that we're going to do our tours to Nicosia, which is the only divided capital city in the world. The border, if you will, between Northern Cyprus and the Republic of Cyprus goes right through the middle of town, and we'll walk across that border on our tour of Nicosia. We're going to be visiting Kyrenia, which I thought was an amazing city with an incredible fort on the northern coast. Famagusta, with its infamous ghost town, where literally a whole neighborhood was vacated by people overnight. So that's all going to be part of our first week based in Larnaca. We're then going to cross over to the western part of the country and stay in a historic town called Paphos. This is actually a very popular beach town in the summertime for tourists from the mainland of Europe to come down and visit. But there's some fantastic sights to see here up in the Troodos Mountains. We're going to go and visit I can't even pronounce it. Kikos Monastery. There's a longer name for it. I forget it right now. We're going to visit the Akamas Peninsula, as well as the historic sites at Kourion and Aphrodite's Rock and a bunch of other stuff. And there's a beautiful long promenade along the beach. The sea is still a little bit on the cool side at this time of the year, but I know a few of our members went swimming previously in the ocean, so we'll sort of leave that up to you if you're going to want to take a dip. This is a picture here of Aphrodite's Rock, actually, which is along the coast, not far away from Paphos, and one of the stops if you joined up for that excursion. You will have by now, I think, gotten your excursion confirmations, which will detail what we're going to do on all of these excursions and when they're happening. I was just about to sneeze. Excuse me, I did sneeze. So you will, if you have any questions or if there's excursions that you haven't booked that, I'll talk about that, this morning that you might be interested in booking, then please let us know right away, because once they're done, they're kind of set in stone. It's not very convenient for us to change excursions after the fact. One thing you'll notice in Cyprus is there's a lot to eat. I mean, they're famous for their meze, which is this big feast that you'll have at least one, probably multiple ones during your stay in Cyprus. And you will be, and this is a good expectation managing exercise, because the amount of food seems to be quite overwhelming. The food is Super good. There's a lot of pork and lamb and beef and you name it. It's all there. But it all will get eaten by someone, so you don't have to worry if you can't finish it all, because you won't be able to finish it all. So we've got a number of trips that include a culinary aspect to them. As I mentioned, Nicosia, which is the capital city and divides North and South Cyprus. On those excursions to the north, you will need to take your passport with you, because there is a border formality that exists between the Republic of Cyprus and the northern part of Cyprus. So that's something to keep in mention. And when I talk about Telegram, Deb is going to send you a note each evening before to sort of let you know, remind you what is the excursion of the following day, things that you need to be ready for, and have prepared to be able to enjoy those excursions to the fullest. Kyrenia, again, another very cool town on the north coast of Cyprus that you're going to visit. And here, keep in mind that obviously this part of Cyprus has close ties with Turkey. It's Muslim, and the look and feel, it's amazing. For one small island, everything here is quite different, but the people are lovely. There's some very interesting shopping to be done, and you'll learn a lot about sort of this whole what's happened, particularly in the last 50 years, that resulted in the island being divided. Cyprus is also, and you may have never tried wines from Cyprus before, but they have a great variety. So we've got a couple of tours. We've got two different so-called Vino Ventures, one from Larnaca, one out of Paphos, where you'll get to sample some of the wine, like Commandaria, which is their version of like a late harvest wine that they're all very proud of. And if you like sweeter wines, like dessert type wines, they're very good. But all the wines there are good. And there's some varietals and so on that you will have never heard of before. Ayia Napa is a resort town at the very eastern tip of Cyprus with a beautiful coastline. You can see the color of the water around Cyprus is just amazing. In this picture, it doesn't even really do it justice. Again, it's cool for bathing at this time of the year, but it's definitely possible. I know I went swimming on our last visit to Cyprus. There's some great little artist villages that we'll visit on our artist village excursion. I actually have a painting here from that I bought at one of these villages. Again, very quaint countryside. We're going to get some insights from both locals and expats that have moved to Cyprus and sort of set up shops there. Famagusta, as I talked about when I showed you the map of Cyprus, is a fascinating town because of these incredible churches that were there from before the division. This one here that was partially destroyed. But what's interesting about Famagusta is visiting this ghost town in a neighborhood of town where literally overnight families were forced out of their homes and forced to flee to southern Cyprus, to the Republic of Cyprus. And they were literally left the way they were 40 years ago. And so you get to walk around, and it's very eerie feeling. It's quite an interesting excursion. Over in Paphos, we'll be visiting some of the archaeological sites, and there are many. Kourion and Colossi Castle are really quite amazing, well-preserved, like amphitheaters. And you have some great views from atop of the hill out overlooking the Mediterranean. And you'll get some very interesting facts about the sort of strategic importance of this area that goes back all the way 2,500 years to like the 4th century BC. So food, and more food. Our culinary tours are among the most favorite ones that we do because you get to sample all kinds of things that you wouldn't normally eat. And as I mentioned, in Paphos, we have the archaeological sites that are practically walking distance from the hotel, the Tomb of the Kings and the Paphos Archaeological Park, which were very well loved. And I recall on our last trip, a number of our members returned back to spend more time seeing these amazing ruins and understanding more about the history there. We've included some hikes as well as excursions, as well as our regular excursions by minibus that are beautiful in the countryside, again, in the foothills of the Troodos Mountains that are very high. In fact, as I mentioned, last time we were there, we had actually snow high up near Mount Olympus, the highest mountain. They actually have a ski hill up there, if you can believe it. And I know some of our members actually witnessed people skiing in Cyprus. It's not really what they expected on a Mediterranean Liveaway, but that can happen. So the hikes are a great way to get out and see some of the nature. The Akabas Peninsula is a big protected park in the northwest part of the country. Again, this is still on the Republic of Cyprus side, and so there is a trip that we'll do up here, up over the mountains, and then we'll get on a boat, head to the Blue Grotto, where you have this huge bay of crystal clear water. And this is where we're going to really try to entice you to jump in, even though it's a bit chilly, because swimming in this beautiful turquoise blue water is quite an experience. We'll teach you all about halloumi. You may have tried halloumi before. This form of cheese was recently, like just in the last 2 years, declared as the name halloumi is protected because halloumi is a product of Cyprus. So if you get halloumi from somewhere else, it's kind of like getting camembert that's not from Camembert in France, which that name is actually not as protected, but champagne, for example. So halloumi is a protected food product from Cyprus, and I think it's absolutely delicious. So you'll have lots of halloumi while you're there, and you'll learn all about it. So that's just a taste of some of the excursions. There's lots more. If you've seen something here tonight that has interested you, that you weren't aware of or you didn't think about, please drop a note to our team to get signed up for that. And they'll see if they can still squeeze you in. But in the meantime, if anybody has any questions at all, now would be the time to raise them, and we'll try to get any questions answered about the trip, anything that you need to know to get ready. And let's see, I don't see any questions yet, but let me check the Q&A box. Questions and answers. I don't see any questions yet. Anybody have any? Oh, we must have done a great job, Deb, of answering everybody's questions about the trip. Let's
So
see.
incredible.
Done. Okay,
There
good.
was one other thing that I wanted to mention, and I know we have a lot of very seasoned travelers with us, but just some of the things that I've learned. And I recently, I sent my mom and her best friend off on a trip to Portugal, and I was just saying to them, it may go against your security personally, but I have found one of the smartest things I've done with my phone before I leave on a trip is I've taken pictures of the front and back of my credit card, my passport, and my prescriptions. And I know we've talked about some tips, and there's lots of guidance in the Wheel and Anchor, language, but I just wanted to say it out loud because I have found there was a time that someone accidentally took my coat. And of course, that had my room key in it, and they wouldn't give me a room key without identification, which is in my room. So you're in this funny loop. They didn't have security for half an hour. And I just found, oh, there it is, saved in a little secret folder in my phone photographs. So depending on your safety and how comfortable you are with that, I have just found that has been one of those features that I've done it can be a little risky, but it's helped me get out of a few jams.
No doubt, no doubt. Oh, Steve just said, I've sent a couple of messages to Deb. Are you seeing them? If not, am I doing something wrong? Do you see any notes there in your chat box? Let's see. Oh, I see. You know what? I think I made Steve, try again. I just noticed that one of our settings was not set up exactly properly.
You might mean on Telegraph. Do you mean on Telegraph?
Oh, okay. Maybe on Telegram.
Probably because we haven't kicked it off yet, but I will post this call.
Okay, fine. So if you have tried to send a message to Deb on Telegram up till now, it hasn't been set up, but you'll set it up right away or within the day, and you should be able to send a message. So
there you are. I see you.
Okay, there you go. See, it works. Okay, so Steve, Deb will send a message back to you. And if anybody else hasn't yet reached out to Deb via Telegram, please do that so that she knows that you're there. And again, once you're in contact, then it's a lot easier for the travel over. Good. I don't see any other questions. So as I say, I think that is about it. We will wrap the webinar up here. If you do think of something 5 minutes from now, drop a note to either Paula or Barb whoever set you up with this trip, or to Aura if you've been in communication with her. And of course, you're welcome to also email or send a Telegram message to Deb as necessary. We're all here to make sure that your questions are answered and you're all ready to go to Cyprus. I'm excited for you. I really love this country. There's so much history and so much lovely countryside and so much great food. It's going to be an awesome trip, and you're going to have a blast with Deb next month. So we'll leave it there. Deb, thanks for your time today, for introducing yourselves to our members.
My pleasure.
All right, and have yourselves a great trip. I look forward to hearing your feedback, and hope you have a marvelous time, which I'm sure you will, in Cyprus next month. Take care. See you all again very soon. Bye-bye.